Hey everyone, today we are checking out the Smiths Everest PRS-25 in 36mm case size. The watch also does come with, a 40mm case size with a white dial too. But today we have the matte black dial to take a look at. Now this is a personal watch of mine. I've had it for a little over 2 months now, so I've let my feelings kind of settle on it and I have a couple of things to say about it. Thought I'd share in case you guys are looking to get into this watch, or if you're looking for an affordable watch, I think this is actually a pretty good way to go. The watch features 20mm lug width. It also has drilled lug holes, which is fantastic for those of us who love to switch out our bracelets for straps and whatnot. Excuse my camera for the focus here, but you'll see the drilled lug holes right there, and all you got to do is just get a spring bar tool to pop out the spring bar and you're well on your way. So that's kind of a treat for us watch enthusiasts. Now the watch also features a tri-Arabic layout on the dial with the 369 indicators, and you'll note that the watch itself also has Mercedes hands for the hour hands, sword hands for the minute hands, and lollipop hands for the second hands. The Smiths logo is in white, which is a contrast to the cream color of the Loom on the tri-Arabic dial. Also, the hands are a different color too, so it kind of looks vintagey, you could say. The Everest logo is at the 6 o'clock, just hidden under the sword hands, and it's in an off-colored gray, which is a really nice touch that doesn't detract away from the dial at all. The watch is finished in a high polished finishing all the way around the side of the case to the crown that you can see is actually signed with the Smiths logo in deep relief. The bezel is also high finished too. And when we make our way to the other side, and that's the finishing on the other side. I hope you guys can see that. My camera's really struggling here. And if we take a look at the bezel straight on, it is actually a conical shaped bezel that frames the sapphire crystal on this watch. And the sapphire crystal is actually applied with anti-reflective coating underneath the crystal. So I hope you can make it out, but right on the edges here of the watch, around the 7 o'clock to the 9 o'clock, there's a blue tint right there. I hope you guys can see it. I'll twist it around so you can see it here. Hopefully yeah, there we go. So now it's at the 3 o'clock. That's quite nice to have, and it actually aids in the legibility of this watch. Now, the crystal itself has a very slim profile. It sits on the bezel quite nicely. And actually, it sits high up enough to protect the bezel, which is nice because these smooth bezels, they attract scratches like no tomorrow. Now, the watch retails for about $400 to $425 US. The retailer actually is in the UK, and they sell this watch for about £325 sterling. So convert that out whichever way you need. That would be best found out on their website, which I'll leave a link below for you to investigate. Now, the watch itself has the Miyota 9039 movement, which beats weight at 28,800 vibrations per hour. And the second hands that you can see ticking away there is fairly smooth in operation. The Miyota movement is a great timekeeper. I've actually tracked the time on this over 2 weeks, and it averaged about 3 seconds per day on the time grapher. And this is actually with me wearing it and occasionally checking it on the time grapher. So not just leaving it on the counter and winding it up. The amplitude is pretty good too on the movement. Now, the screw down crown does aid in its 100-meter water resistance, which I'll show you here. And second position is to basically adjust the time, and it's hackable as well. That's just about it on the crown side. The feedback is quite good. The feedback of the crown, I would say, out of a 10, I give it about a 7. It gives you a tactile grittiness to let you know you're turning the appropriate gears to wind the watch. Now, the watch does come on a bracelet too, and the bracelet's right here. It's covered in tape because I covered it in tape just because I don't want to lose the end links. You'll see here that the end links are 20mm right there, and the spring bars are on the watch, and I would lose the end links in a heartbeat if it wasn't for the tape. So please excuse the tape, guys. The clasp is signed with the Smiths logo, Very simply signed right there. And you'll see that. It is brushed finished, and it is a simple fold-over clasp. Very solid in operation, milled out of steel, 316L for the case and the bracelet. Now, take a look at that. So many micro adjustments. You have 5 points of adjustability to get the comfort and fit that you want. So I think that's just a great way to go on a bracelet. Not many modern watch manufacturers have this many adjustments usually. So it's quite nice to see that. Now, it is brushed finished on the bracelet itself. So if you take a look here, hope you can make it out. The finishing is pretty decent. It actually has an edge to the bracelet itself, and you'll see these little things that stick out. Those are rivets, yeah. Rivets, 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 rivets. Fake rivets. I know, that's a bit of a bone of contention for some, because in the watch community, some do feel that it takes away from the look of the bracelet, but I think here it's done well. I think that the way that they did it here, being that the bracelet's very thin, actually adds some visual interest to the bracelet, as in it makes the bracelet look wider. So it's a little bit nice to see that they added this design element, because the original Rolex Explorer 1016 that this watch heavily references, the earlier iterations actually came on a riveted oyster bracelet. So it's a nice little nod. At least it's true to the watch that it's referencing. Now we'll get that out of the way. The watch actually does come with a travel case that the owner so kindly supplied with every Smiths Everest. It actually stores 2 watches, and I think this is such a nice touch. It really speaks to the attention and care for a great customer experience. So with that being said, like I've actually taken this to go travel as well, and it came in handy. Let's go back to the watch. Now, what does this watch compete with, and who is it for? Well, this watch competes with the Hamilton Khaki King and the Hamilton Khaki Military. Now, those watches are great. They have great movements, ETA movements. They're solidly made. They have sapphire crystals too, but the only thing is that the dials on those are a little bit more involving. So what I mean is that the field watch dials that have the numerals that span from 1 to 12 o'clock, are a little bit more difficult to read, because on the Hamilton Khaki watches, they actually have a center 24-hour indicator too that shows you the time in 24 hours. And with all those numerals there, it can be a little bit involving to read your watch. I personally appreciate this 369 tri-Arabic layout, as it's so well balanced and it lends to its versatility. I can read it very easily as well. So personally, I would gravitate to this rather than the Hamilton, but the Hamilton Khaki King and military watches are great watches. The other alternative would be the Seiko Alpinist, which is now closer to $1,000 and a little bit harder to recommend. It also now has a date too, and a Cyclops, and that's not for everybody. It's not really true to the field watch aesthetic, I guess you can say. So if you're looking for really something that's quite minimal and simple and clean looking, this is kind of the way to go. And at half the price, almost half the price of the Seiko, it's kind of hard to make the argument for the Seiko at that point. Although the Seiko is a great watch because it does come in different dial variants, but this one also does come in a white dial too, so let's not forget that. I'll also show you what it looks like on the wrist right here. Let's do that. Now I have about a 6¼ inch wrist. I know, small wrist gang, yeah. But if we just put it on here, that's what it looks like. And I think it looks great on the wrist. At 36 millimeters, it really is a crowd pleaser. Now that's a contemporary size that not even Rolex offers for the Explorer anymore. And Rolex currently doesn't have a 36 millimeter Explorer that has a Loom dial. They only have a 39 millimeter. So this kind of hits a sweet spot. With that being said, it also sits a little bit high because of the NATO strap, but with the bracelet, you really have a winner on your wrist. Now, let's talk about some of the cons. Being that I've had this watch for 2 months now, I can say that the Miyota 9039 movement is a little bit noisy. The rotor will wobble a bit, and it does make noise. In a quiet room, you will notice it. But in terms of 1 to 10, how bad it is, I give it about a 3 out of 10. The other con is that the bracelet clasp, I wish was a little bit more sturdy. When I first got the bracelet, I actually felt like it could be a little bit tighter, but that was the only thing that I felt was, a standout for me for that bracelet. The other con I have is that with a NATO strap, it kind of sits a little tall. Even though it's 11.3 millimeters thick, the NATO strap kind of makes it sit a little bit tall on the wrist, but that's the case for every NATO strap. So it's not that bad of a deal. I'm going to show you what the Loom looks like at the end of the video. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for checking out this video. This is the first ever watch review I've ever done, and I appreciate you guys joining me for this. If you like what you saw, please leave a like. If you would like to see more of this stuff, please consider subscribing. And if you have something to say about this watch, or you think that there's a better watch other than this, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. Now, I will say on an end note that I'm not sponsored by Smiths or Time Factors for this watch, but I think that they make a great product and they should be mentioned. So if you want to take a look at this watch, please click on the link below in the video. And other than that, I will catch you in the next one. And this is to show you the Loom on the Everest, Smiths Everest 36 millimeter. It's shining like a torch.